we're not going to make it. Vice President Kamala Harris says that if she is elected president, she will regulate food pricing to prevent corporate price gouging, and food is just a start. So she's basically going to do what they did in Venezuela, where they regulated the prices of everything, and then the companies said, yeah, we just won't sell in your country anymore. And then when they couldn't access any products from any companies, they basically then got rid of those regulations, and it resulted in hyperinflation, which collapsed the economy and resulted in millions of Venezuelans, maybe around half of all Venezuelans, fleeing Venezuela. Watch the end of the video to understand why Kamala Harris is doing this and what the social repercussions are going to be when and if she gets elected, and how this is going to affect us all. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
President Kamala Harris is set to release her first major economic plan as a presidential candidate later today in North Carolina. It will include, we're told, proposing a federal ban on corporate price gouging for food and groceries. Earlier this year, our next guest, Democratic Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, introduced the Price Gouging Prevention Act, which promises to crack down on corporate price gouging and protect American families from so-called greedflation. And Senator Casey joins us now. He's a member of the Senate Finance and Intelligence Committees and currently running for re-election in a race that could determine the balance of power in the Senate. Senator, good morning. It's great to have you with us. So let's start with this idea of price gouging. A lot of economists, not just conservative ones, but even more moderate and some liberal ones, believe that the margins are so thin at a grocery store that they're not gouging prices, that they're just trying to keep up with supply and demand. What do you say to that?
Well, Willie, here are the facts in terms of corporate America. This is what we're talking about here. The big companies, the companies that are producing food, and the companies that are manufacturing household items. That's where the price gouging has taken place. Look, between July of 20 and July of 22, corporate profits rose 75% in America. That's 5 times the rate of inflation. And we shouldn't just accept it and say there's nothing we can do about it. We should point it out, as I've done in a greedflation report, a shrinkflation report, recently a streamflation report, streaming services doing this as well, the junk fees that the administration has worked on. So on a whole range of fronts, you've got corporate America, after getting the biggest corporate tax cut anyone can remember, jacking up their prices and just saying, get used to it, and bragging about it on shareholder calls. So we got to do 3 things. Go after them, and you use price gouging legislation to do that, and to give the Federal Trade Commission power it does not have right now. And secondly, to roll back those big corporate tax breaks, because obviously they didn't need them. But I think the idea that we should just throw up our hands and say, well, that's capitalism, is ridiculous.
If they roll back corporate tax breaks, that's not going to affect the big corporations. Oh, no. They'll just do what Apple has done and keep all of their money offshore. Those corporate tax breaks and allowing companies to keep more of their money allowed us to bring back hundreds of billions of dollars that Apple was keeping offshore. So these corporations will just get clever about how they do business again. All right? Getting rid of those tax breaks are going to hurt Main Street. They're going to hurt the mom and pops. They're going to hurt small business. Now, in terms of regulating prices for food, it's a terrible idea. All right? Notice they're not just speaking about food. Food is just a start. They want to regulate prices. They'll start with regulating prices for food. They mentioned streaming services, so they'll regulate prices for streaming services. And then they begin regulating prices for everything. Oh, Apple's charging too much for their laptops. A lot of people are complaining about the whole RAM scam thing going on. We're going to regulate prices on that as well. All right? So we're going to regulate prices on electronics, regulate prices on entertainment, regulate prices on food, regulate prices on medicine. What ends up happening is eventually companies say, yeah, we're just not going to produce it anymore. Because you have to remember, these are publicly traded companies, a lot of them. And if you're a publicly traded company, you have to continuously show year-over-year profits. So if you're not doing that anymore, what ends up happening? Your investors say, well, this Ponzi scheme has come to an end. we're not going to keep our money here anymore if you cannot find new ways to increase profits. And how do companies increase profits now? They just keep raising prices, and it's not a good thing. It's definitely not a good thing. But we saw what happened in Venezuela when Venezuela began regulating prices for everything. They regulated prices for energy in the country, which of course then limits the amount of money that people who work in the energy sector can make. They regulated prices for food. They regulated prices for everything, ranging from sanitary products for women to toilet paper. And eventually companies said that we're just not going to sell these products in your country anymore. And you know what ended up happening? There were women who were completely pissed off and they were furious, saying that these products should be a human right. Guys, this just shows you how women operate based in only on feelings, not on facts. All right? And they were screeching and hollering and saying that men cannot understand what we're talking about because they don't go through this. And you had guys like, you understand that these aren't free items, though. These things they have to be produced in a factory using supplies and products. And they're like, we get you, but we can't live without them. And they're like, okay, we understand, but you're gonna have to learn with if you don't pay for these items, they're not going to give them to you for free. And their argument is basically that these items should just be free, and someone should figure out how to pay for it. They should be a basic human right. But nothing is a basic human right for any of us. Food, shelter, housing, nothing is a basic human right. Okay? Life is not a basic human right. We have to work for everything. And women believe that all of these things should be handed to us. And then they vote for these people. And who's especially voting? Like women right now are becoming more liberal, while younger men are becoming more conservative. But don't get me wrong, Gen Z is not going to right the ship. Gen Z men are basically just like, yeah, well, there's nothing in it for me. You see, men in Western society have been conditioned to believe that they need to sacrifice everything. Gen Z are much more selfish. That's why Gen Z men are basically saying they're not going to sacrifice for women in society. All right? But don't get me wrong, they're still Gen Zers. They still have that very negative view on working in general. They're still not trustworthy when it comes to giving them responsibility. They'll walk out midway through the day. But the point of the matter is simply just that they're like Gen Z young guys, they're like, yeah, we're not sacrificing for ourselves for anyone. This is crazy, guys. This is how societies collapses, literally. This is what happened in Venezuela. This is the reason why communist countries basically are suffering, because they regulate the prices of everything, so there's no competition. And because there's no competition or ways of really making a profit, it's so heavily limited that this is the case. And if you have, from what I'm beginning to hear, is like the government will come and confiscate whatever you have. So if you create something for yourself, if you build something for yourself, like, you gather things together, you start building things, the government can come and confiscate it and basically say that, you're stealing. How am I stealing? I created this myself. It doesn't matter. All right? It does not matter. That belongs to the state. Anything you create in a communist country, in a socialist country, guys, they can take away. They can say this belongs to the state. That's what happened in Venezuela. They basically took over various industries like energy production and things like they took them over. They took them over and they ran them into the ground. I mean, right now, we have a lot of competition when it comes to the wireless industry in terms of prepaid, although even that's shrinking. And they can step in and say that, you know what, it's too expensive in the wireless industry, so we're going to begin regulating the wireless industry even more. All right, and that's going to help to get these prices under control. So we'll determine what's the maximum amount of money that the wireless phone operators can charge. All right, we're gonna put, so you will never pay more than $50 a month for your wireless service. This limits innovation, because companies will then say, well, we can't, it's going to cost too much to bring out new wireless technologies. It's going to cost us tons of money to try to upgrade to 6G. to build out an entirely new 6G network. All right, it's insane. Or offering new services. And there are some of you who are in the comments like, Angry, you're so full of crap, man. You're so full of crap. They've been taking advantage of people for years. They need to be regulated. No one should be spending more than $50 a month for wireless service. Realistically, no one should be spending more than $20 a month for wireless service. That's how a lot of you people are. I guarantee you, there's a bunch of you in the comments right now that have this attitude, that are literally like that support regulating prices in industries, like saying that we shouldn't pay more than a certain amount of money for energy, we shouldn't pay more than a certain amount of money for housing. We need to put these guys, just because we are being robbed and taken advantage of doesn't mean that regulating prices is the answer. That is socialism and heading into communism, and we know how that works out. All right, people stop competing, people stop creating, and the government takes everything. They'll take whatever, your bank account, they'll take whatever's in there. Oh, you have plenty of money. You don't need this much money. You don't need Angry. You don't understand how socialism works, okay? It's about kindness. It's about kindness and creating opportunities for everyone to thrive. And when you have corporate greed like this, no one can succeed. Look at the economy. You need to shut up and allow it and let change take place, bro. All right, you're a part of the problem. If you're not going to be a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. Guys, these Gen Zers are a bunch of socialist communists. All right, you're a bunch of communists. They're a bunch of communists masquerading as socialists. They want hell on earth. Okay, they love Daddy Maduro. I'll tell you where this is going to lead. This is only going to lead to higher inflation, a faster collapse of the dollar, and extraordinary amounts of poverty and destitution in Western society. And then the very same people that vote for these people, that bring in these policies, will keep on voting for these people who will promise to take even further actions, saying that, okay, well, the reason why things are going downhill like this is because of the companies. They're not producing enough, so we'll order the companies to produce more. You're going to order the companies to produce more and offer more. So that's right. If they want to do business, they need to produce more, and then everyone will have enough. Okay? And we're going to keep on regulating the prices. In fact, we're going to make them even lower because they're still too damn high. And you're going to hear them, yeah, that's right. That's right. It's about kindness. It's about love. Yeah, man. It's about love. And the reality is that you're just going to end up with lower quality things, or the companies are just going to take their business overseas to countries where free trade still exists. My gosh, I'm telling you guys, like, we're going to be living in a cyberpunk world eventually, but it's going to be just absolute nightmare and chaos where you can't even afford, we can barely afford visits to the doctor right now, but now that's going to become a freaking luxury. Okay, and we'll be living under extreme, and when I say extreme tyranny, it's going to be extreme tyranny. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to our newsletter for my personal thoughts, insights, and a free copy of my ebook, The Blueprint for Escaping the Rat Race. Click the link in the description to get your free copy. Guys, what do you think regarding all of this? We're not going to make it. We're not going to make it, guys. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.